Here we are in Scottsdale at Dame of the West Tattoo with Josh Carter, who is a master of Japanese tattooing these days. I have a question for you, Josh. I think it would be fair to say that Japanese art and tattooing is not just about the art itself. What do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons why I gravitated towards that, and master is a stretch, but um, one of the reasons I gravitated towards it was just the culture. I was just a tattooer in the 90s. A lot of us were just tattooing whatever came through the door. We got away with it for a while, and there was a point in my career where, I had a kid and I didn't know how to do anything else, so I better get good at this. And Japanese was like a no-brainer. That's what I wanted to do from the get. I had attempted a few things, but they're never good when you first start trying it. I always kind of, I guess, sort of fetishized the culture. I love it. Like, just think it's the coolest culture out there. I love American culture, but Japanese culture just has this like mystery and this, I guess, intention about it that I love. Yeah, so I would say about 15, maybe 16 years ago, I made the decision that like Japanese was going to be my thing. To me, it's like it's the pinnacle of tattooing. Irizumi, bodysuit, it like I love American traditional and I think it's cool, but you go into a place, you get your tattoo, you leave. With Japanese, there has to be like a set plan. It takes time. It's a process thing. You don't worry about the money or how long it's going to take. You're just going. It's an experience. There's just something cool about that. I always thought that was like that's high level tattooing.
High level discipline too.
It's discipline, yeah, the mindset and everything, and, even the caliber of clients. I don't wanna sound like I'm downgrading anything else, it's just a different mindset. Electing is cool too. That's just a different way of going about getting tattooed.
But I think it leads into the rest of your life as well to a point as far as how you do things outside of your job. I hear a lot of people say that as far as Japanese tattooers, people that embrace Japanese tattooing, they're a lot more disciplined in general than your average person that just sits in the shop every day and go, I'm here to tattoo. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, is intention. You
Okay.
have to have intention,
Yeah.
and in my experience, most of the guys that are doing good Japanese that I know of are just self-starters. They just do it.
Right.
And they grind and they have it in them. There's a mindset where it's like, okay, I have to learn a lot of shit. I got to read a lot. I got to look at books that have no pictures. I got to try to get my dumb Western mind wrapped around these Eastern concepts that are just alien to me.
Yeah, well, talk to me a little bit about the Eastern concepts, the fact that, Japanese tattooing has symbolism, images have symbolism, and that a lot of the people here don't seem to know a whole lot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's ingrained in Shinto, the Buddhism, the concepts of good and evil and all of that stuff. We have our Western uh, Christian sense of good and evil. And yeah, in the East, it's more from what I can tell. I'm still like a layman. I'm not an expert in it or anything. I just try to spend some time understanding it. And it's more nuanced, I guess I would say.
At what level do you think you'll become an expert?
I don't know. I know more than some and less than others. It is what it is. I've forgotten more than I know now. I have a general understanding, going to Japan, just I kind of really like dove in to try to understand the best that I can. But then there's this reality you have to accept that you're just a Westerner doing Japanese style tattooing, and that's what you are.
Right, and where does that become appropriation at any point?
I mean, I don't believe in appropriation anyway. I think the whole concept's stupid.
Just a question.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Not that you're asking.
Thing.
I think it's a silly thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's about the appreciation and respect for it.
Right, if you put the energy in, then, you deserve or you have the right to be able to do it just like anyone else, I think. But I've heard a lot, especially back in the day of, Westerners, we should do Western style Japanese tattooing rather than
Get the fuck out of here.
right?
They're doing traditional too. They take Western stuff and make it their own all the time, and they make it cool.
Yeah.
Nobody minds.
Nobody minds. Yeah, especially as you said, as long as you have the respect for it, and you put the intention into the designs.
Yeah, I think one of my early goals was just to have somebody, a Japanese tattooer look at it and go, well, yeah, he understands it, he respects it.
And you have a lot of friends among the Japanese tattooers?
Not a lot, but I have a handful of friends that are tattooing in Japan and Tabori artists and whatnot, and I'll bounce stuff off of them. And yeah, we have good relationships.
And did you go to Japan, and what was your
One of my friends I met here, he was guest spotting here. He was doing a lot of guest spots, and his name's Shurayu. I got tattooed by him a couple of times, then invited him here to work at the shop. We just developed a relationship, and then through Instagram and stuff. And I've gone to Japan to visit him a couple of times.
Yeah, I
Work
think
out
that the
there.
internet has definitely changed the world as far as, being able to contact people on the other side of the planet easily and efficiently, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have that in the 90s. So as far as that, I mean, coming to where you are now, I mean, when you started in the 90s, you were basically trying to learn in Venice Beach. And that's
Yeah.
a long way from where we are
Yeah.
today.
Like, I mean, I'll go into my backstory a little bit, but I was dating this piercer when I was, I don't know, I just turned 18. And I was going to a community college out there. I met this piercer. I was working some odd jobs. So I was doing like shipping and receiving at some like shoe store in the mall. Just a kid. I ended up getting my first tattoo, and I was getting a ton of piercings because that's what you did in the 90s.
Right.
She had a friend that was opening up a shop in Venice Beach, a piercing shop, piercing end of a tattoo shop. It was connected to this tattoo shop. And she asked if I wanted to go help her open it up. And I was like, hell yeah, that sounds fun. So she ended up teaching me how to do like basic piercings. I was doing belly buttons and nostrils. I was doing that for a little while, not too long, maybe like 5 or 6 months. And the tattoo shop next door was filled with these tattooers at Venice Beach. They're all like mid to not good.
Mm,
And I would see some of these tattoos leave, and I was like, man, I could do that. It made it to where it was like, this is accessible, like punk rock.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can play 3 chords and scream, That's what made me pick up a guitar. And it was just kind of the same thing with tattooing. These guys are doing it. I think I could. And back then, you couldn't order stuff to your house. Like National wouldn't send it, Huck Spalding wouldn't send anything. You know this. But I was able to send it to the shop. So because I was working there, I got everything sent there, and I didn't do it the right way. I got a bunch of gear. I had some friends. There was an older punker dude that I kind of befriended who sort of guided me along. He taught me how to make needles with, a soda can for a jig, and gave me some equipment, kind of guided me along. But I was just tattooing grapefruits and gutter punks in my apartment until like I got a basic grasp for it. And then I convinced one of the owners in the shops in Venice Beach, a scrupulous uh, non-tattooer owners, that I could tattoo, and he just started grinding people up on Venice Beach for a while.
Well, that's a good way to start. So you're effectively
I
self-taught.
crowbarred my way in,
Yeah.
for sure. I wasn't gate kept.
I think a lot of us in the 80s and 90s, that was one way. The other way was the apprenticeship, which was effectively just a key to the door. It wasn't really much. I don't think a lot of people got a whole lot of information out of apprenticeships back then.
Yeah.
And I think as self-starters, it was kind of probably more of an education in a way.
He was just like, I'm going to do it. I don't
Yeah.
care what you say. And people weren't happy about it. They were like, fuck this kid.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. And I think as far as an apprenticeship goes, back then, I was too hard headed, and I was too much of a shithead. There's no way I would have gotten or lasted in an apprenticeship. So this was my path. I don't discourage people from taking the same path. I just tell them like, it's harder these days to be worth anything. If you really want it, you'll get it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of opinion that without an apprenticeship, we are nothing. But I know a lot of people like yourself that, have made very good over the years by just teaching yourself and getting through all the bullshit.
Look, I wish that I had the mindset. It would have cut the learning curve down substantially. It took me a long time to just figure things out, because first I thought I was hot shit, and then I had to just pick a little bit here and there to finally like get things down. So I think an apprenticeship ultimately is the best way to do it if you work hard and you have a good mentor. But you know, if you want to do it, nothing should stop you from doing it.
No, I completely agree with that. I think it's become a lot easier in this day and age just to get a hold of the equipment. But again, it's not that easy to get hold of the knowledge if you don't have the right mindset, as you said.
Yes. And back then too, like you said, the equipment, it was hard. You had to learn how to tune your machines and work with coils and solder needles and breathe flux for hours on end. And how I don't have sinus cancer is beyond me.
Right.
But it was a lot harder. So there was things to gatekeep, and then the tattoo magazines, there was some good stuff in there, but it was mostly garbage, and your access to stuff was not readily available. So an apprenticeship back then, it had real value if you had somebody good to apprentice under.
Well, I think that's the ticket right there, if you had someone good to apprentice under.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot then, as there are now, of just like, turn them out, make money out of them.
Yeah. Charge them 5 grand, then work at the shop at 40% for,
Right.
3 years. Like there's a lot of that. There's still a lot of that. I mean, this shop's turning out apprentices left and right out here that I know of.
And they're all complaining about no work, and yet they're making new tattooers every day.
What a
So,
shock.
right?
But yeah, I mean, I think nowadays, if you can buy a decent pen machine off of Amazon, and you buy decent inks off of Amazon, a lot of information just sort of free flowing out there on the internet.
Certainly as far as equipment, but I think as far as the dedication to the actual craft and the this discipline of learning how to do it properly and make every line count, that's
Yeah, none of that worries me. None of that. Because it's the way I see it is if it came easy to you, it's gonna come easy to the next jerk off that does the same thing.
right.
If all you're doing is tracing and doing little Pinterest things with a pen, and anybody can do that. And if anybody can do it, your competition level is going to drive the market down, and you're not going to survive. And you're seeing that a lot. A lot of these people are just giving it up, especially people that started in the post COVID boom. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to be rich." Here's a reality check for you.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of it, I think, too, is I tell people all the time, if you want to stand out, you have to practice. You have to draw every day. You have to make your art something that people look at and go, "Holy cow!" Not like, another Pinterest knockoff or whatever.
It has to grab people's attention. Mid just isn't going to cut it anymore.
No,
Just doesn't cut it. There's plenty of mid tattooers out there.
and I see a lot in your work, and a couple of the people that are your peers, I would say at this point in the Japanese, that it seems to be going more clean, less frill than
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff. Obviously, on the internet right now is very fussy, got to be perfect, super tiny, and we know over time that that's going to not last, right? But I see the Japanese styles going much cleaner, much crisper, much bolder.
Way simpler. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. When I first started doing Japanese, I was looking at guys like Ivan Sazi, Rico Daruma, and, some of these guys in Spain. And funny, more like they were tattooing in Brazil. So the tattoos had to be bold. And this is before I had access to like traditional Japanese tattooers. But these guys were doing it the right way already. Like you could read it. And my first introduction, I think like a lot of us, was Horiyoshi 3.
Mm.
We thought, oh, that's Japanese tattooing. And turns out like that's like crazy Japanese tattooing. It's amazing,
it is.
but it's not like, the traditional Tabori look. So yeah, I kind of started with that real simple, bold. I wanted to read it from across the room and big lines and from the get. But I think there's a lot of access now to people like Horiken Shibuya, Bunshin Horitoshi, and a lot of these other guys that have always been very simple and to the point. And it's catching on. There's a lot of guys doing that. The big, like kind of folky sort of Nagoya style work, kind of goofy. I see a lot more of that. So, I mean, for myself, I was doing that for a long time. And I taught my apprentice the way that I was doing it, that simple, very easy to read style. And when I was teaching him, I was like, well, I think I got to move on to something else. I kind of moved more into a little bit more detail, a little bit more technical. And it's just different than what I was doing. And I'm leaving that old style to him.
I think you have to grow within a style anyway to a point, because at a certain point when you master, it's like learning to play the guitar. You get to a certain level and you're like, oh, great, I'm comfy here. And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm not moving on, right? And there's that
That's how I
plateau.
felt. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. And I'm starting to understand it somewhat, and it was very simple, but I felt I haven't really changed much. I haven't really improved much. And then I picked up this book by Horitsune, that I've had for years. I've had it for 15 years. And I looked at it in the beginning when I first started and was like, oh, this is crazy. I don't understand it. It's kind of weird. And then I picked it up 4 or 5 years ago and I looked at it and was like, this is the best shit out there. Why is nobody doing this? Is amazing. Then I understood it more and I was ready to sort of move on. And I kind of was studying him a lot. I still do. And sort of moved into that direction. I think he's one of the best tattooers ever.
Because we haven't heard of him, us non Japanese neophytes. As you
Yeah,
say.
yeah. I mean, most Japanese guys know who Horitsune
Yeah.
is, but yeah, your average layman wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's what's great about specializing. I mean, I think there's pros and cons towards specializing, but someone that really does go to the depths of it, like yourself, wants to find every corner and every shred of information they can and look at every artist's different styles so they can compile better
Yeah.
ideas. I think that's what truly makes a proper specialist.
It's also, yeah, you ever read a book and kind of like, okay, I kind of get it. And then you read it again later on with some more life experience, and you're like, oh, I understand this way more. Even the movies and shit. You know what I mean? It just how it was life experience, and you start to understand the depths of it a little more.
Mhm. So have you ever done Tabori?
Yeah, I dabbled in Tabor. I'll do it occasionally, but I thought about doing it a bunch, but I didn't want to make it like a novelty thing. There's guys that just dedicated everything to Tabori, and they're incredible at it. I knew I wasn't going to dedicate the time that I needed to really learn Tabori, so I kind of just stayed with machines.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few people out there that are doing it that are really not doing it well, and so that doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, I can point out a few.
Makes it a little shady, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a novelty. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, look what I do. I'm traditional Japanese, and it's like, "Yeah, but you still can't draw."
Yeah, so that's comes into, of course, all the angles of the art. Do you feel that martial arts has anything to do with the way that you could influence a tattoo style?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've been doing jujitsu for forever now, and I don't know that it's influenced my tattoo style. It's definitely influenced me as a person and how I think and how I operate and how I learn things and how I've grown. The way I've grown in that, you can grow anywhere. There's a martial arts term called shuhari, shuhari, and the shu part is this faithful copying. You don't really understand it. You're being told what to do and you do it, you copy. And then eventually you move to a point where you really like you can do that stuff. You can copy that stuff in your sleep, and you move on to like a better understanding. The ha part. Yeah, I would say in jujitsu, the white belt and blue belt area is sort of the shoe part. And you're just kind of doing things. My coach, he was different back in the day. He's nicer now, but I'd ask him questions at blue belt and he'd be like, "You're too stupid. Don't worry about it. Just do what I tell you." And I was like, "All right." And later on, I moved on to purple belt and I started to understand, oh, this is why I'm grabbing this grip. This is why I'm putting my foot here. This is why I'm doing this or that. And then he would answer my questions because I could understand it a little bit more. And I'm a brown belt now, so it goes white, blue, purple, brown, black, and I'm still kind of in the haw part. I think I'll be in the haw part forever, you know. And then the last part is the re, where you just sort of you understand it, you understand all the concepts, you understand the inner workings of everything, and you don't have to focus on the minutia anymore. And you can kind of go do your own thing.
Sounds a little bit like what you were just saying about tattooing and
It's the
your
same
evolution.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still, I think, in Japanese tattooing, I'll be in that second phase for a long time.
Yeah. But I think most artists or people that really love their craft, whatever that art may be, most especially, will never think that they're the best they can be. And if they do, then it's probably time to quit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't put your feet up on the desk and rest your arms behind your head and say, I'm good. Then you're done. You're
Yeah.
cooked. I tell this all the time, but a few years ago, I was in my early 40s and I'm not where I want to be. And I was kind of discouraged and, I don't know. I was just kind of in a slump, we all hit it as artists. And I was watching this YouTube video of, Horihiro, Ito Horihiro. And he was talking about this interaction he had with Horiyazu. Most Japanese tattooers know both of these guys. And Horiyazu, he's in his 70s. He's still doing some of the best tattooing you'll ever see. Like, it's just masterful. He was a sword maker, I think, before. So just the craft of it all, like dude's incredible. Horihiro asks Horiyazu, when do you think a Japanese tattooer really hits their stride? And Horiyazu said, not until their 50s or maybe their 60s. And that shifted something in me where I was, this is like this. There's no rush. I have to keep grinding, but I started to focus more on the day-to-day journey. The goal is you're never going to reach perfection. Hokusai said he lives to be 120. Maybe he'll learn how to draw. Maybe he'll be good. I see what he means by that now. It's just the journey. And when I shifted to that, I love tattooing now more than I ever have. I love coming to work and I love learning how to paint new things or use new materials or find new tools and like draw differently or like crack these codes for water or clouds. It's still exciting to me.
Well, and that's a good thing. I mean, that makes you push harder to invent more things and find more paths to different tops of the mountain, right?
Yeah, there is, I'll never get to the top of the mountain, hopefully.
It's a high mountain.
It's a high mountain. A little bit better each day. That's it.
Yeah.
A little bit better. And yeah, the pressure is off to be something else. I could just be me
Yeah.
and I can figure this out little by little. And it's just a different mindset. And jiu-jitsu is the same way, man. You're never going to be the best. Even if you are the best, it'll be short lived.
Yeah. Someone's always going to be out there on your tail, right?
Always.
Or ahead of your game.
Yeah.
Take it on.
Yeah.
So you go to conventions though, right? And how do you feel the conventions are these days? I know they used to be a little more interesting than they are now.
Yeah. I think I have one convention I'm going to be going to early in the year, but I think I'm going to lay off after that for a while. I like going to conventions because I get to see people that I don't normally get to see and meet new people. I think it's great, but I feel like the convention scene is just so oversaturated these days and there's too many. It's pretty rare if you really make a profit from a convention. By the time I've paid for the booth, bought a plane ticket, paid for a hotel, you're lucky if you break even,
Yeah.
So it is more of a social event than a lucrative money-making thing. I mean, it can be.
I feel like we used to do it a lot to get our faces out there, get known, right? But that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. Conventions don't really boost people anymore.
I still think it helps for like, if you're trying to network and you're trying to make connections with other people. And I mean, if anything, just be inspired. I go to those conventions and I see some of these kids putting stuff out and I'm just, man, I got to get to work. So it's been good for that. I think I'm going to let we do a few conventions here. The shop does. And I'm going to let some of the other guys, the younger tattooers do it.
Yeah, I feel to a point it's a younger tattooer thing. As far as what you just said, getting inspired, going out, looking at other people, meeting people, talking to them. I think in the 90s, that was a big driving force for bringing the cultures together across the world because, like we mentioned, there was no internet, right? So the easiest way to go and talk to people about the thing you were interested in was to go to them or have them come to you in the form of a convention. I don't see that camaraderie anymore, really. And I don't know that there's all too much exchange still to be done.
I mean, I've gotten it. I've definitely met some really cool people at conventions and I've guested over there. I've made some really good connections just in the last like 4 or 5 years, even.
Well, you must be cooler than me.
Not that cool,
I'm not that cool.
but, yeah, I mean, uh, I definitely still like, I like them, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me right now.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Um,
So what do you do for fun then?
I don't know, my life consists of, I tattoo. The days that I work are just, I work. There's not a lot after that. I'll usually tattoo all day and then I'll go home and draw until it's time to go to sleep. Or I'll paint. I go to jujitsu 4 or 5 days a week if I can. And, go to church on Sunday. That's it. That's really my life. And I spend time with my wife and my kid.
That's good though. I mean, it sounds like the essential Japanese way of doing things, like that discipline
Simple.
that encompasses your entire social aspect, really,
It's simple.
and it makes your life fun, even though other people might be like, well,
Yeah.
what do you mean? No bars, no parties.
Yeah. That's done.
Yeah.
That's been done for a long
Yeah.
time. Work on my motorcycle a little bit, wrench on an old bike. It's fun. Yeah. Other than that, it's just like physical health and spiritual health and tattooing.
You don't sound like a guy that would have necessarily like judgmental opinions on other people and the way they
No.
approach tattooing.
Oh, judgments. I don't know. I mean, I try not to be too judgmental. I learned a long time ago that focusing on anybody else's like shit is useless. What is it doing? And just grinding and putting my head down and people close to me. If I'm trying to inspire the guys at my shop and girls at my shop, like how to do something different or how to approach something different, I will. If I think they're being retarded, I'll tell them. But as far as how everybody else works, I don't know, man. It is what it is. Like outside, past the tip of my nose, it's none of my business.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
I'm sure 10 years ago, I would have had a million things I could talk shit about, but like,
Oh, man, I feel like we've all mellowed out so much in this decade.
I don't care.
You know,
I don't care.
I mean, a lot of those crusty old school guys that are just super mellow now, and they were the cats that would chase you out of the shop for asking a dumb question years ago. With the
Yeah.
baseball bat.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
I don't think I don't think it's a mindset that really serves us
Mhm.
anymore.
And what about this mindset online of everybody crying and complaining because the tattoo industry is saturated with idiots and blah, blah, blah?
I mean, it's been good and bad. I think it's driven people. It's taken tattooing to heights that I could have never even imagined. Like,
Mm.
there's things that I might not even be into the style, but you can't deny, like, wow, that's unbelievably good. And that's as a result of tons of people coming in and people with massive amounts of talent. And I think it's awesome. And yeah, if you're if you're not pushing, yeah, if you're kind of staying at a certain level where it's like anybody can do what you do, of course it's gonna you're gonna have issues. So I think that's where a lot of the bitching is coming from. So you're not grinding, you're not putting your head down. Or, the other reality is maybe it's just not for you. Maybe you shouldn't be tattooing. I hate to say that. I hate to see people quit. I don't always hate to see people quit, but maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't have the drive or the talent. And to me personally, I think you don't even need that much talent. You just need work ethic.
Just
Yeah,
push a little more every day and try
that's
harder.
it. Yeah, you can overcome. I've seen some of the most talented tattooers just be lazy and never reach whatever potential they could have reached because it came so easy to them.
I think there was a time for that. I think that time's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah. I mean, in the 90s, yeah, we couldn't basically hardly go home at night for the amount of work that there was. And that was realistically a time to shine in all of that, possibly early 2000s. But I think the internet has changed tattooing massively and the way that it is viewed by the general public, and for good and for bad, But like you said, nowadays, I mean, you have to have extreme dedication, artistic talent, the whole enchilada in order to have people go, holy crap, that's good,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I tell younger tattooers too, you don't need to be Instagram famous. You don't need to be world famous. If you're good at it, cool. If you can market yourself on Instagram, whatever, But if you are the man in a 30-mile radius that people think of, or woman, I was gotta throw that cap. But if you're the person in that 30-mile radius that people think of when they think whatever style, you're good.
Well, and I think that's the key, isn't it? That a lot of people kind of miss the point that the client is everything in this, right? If that, without clients, we are effectively nothing. So, as well as our work, we have to also nurture relations with our clients and make them want to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do great work all day long, but if you're a complete asshole, well,
Yeah, I learned that a while ago. And I've been tattooed by assholes, and I've gotten some of those tattoos removed or covered up because I'm just like, I don't want that energy on me.
yeah.
But yeah, the clients are here. They're around you. So that's what I felt like I should be focusing on. And it's just I'm not saying it's the only way or the right way. It's just the way that I went for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's everybody to their own, of course. But if you build the foundation of something strong where you are, of course, then you're going to be, like you said, the man within a 30-mile radius, or the woman, right? And then go out and show people what you can do in other places, and then maybe they'll come to you.
They will. I will. When I was a quintessential street shop tattooer for a very long time. And then I worked at Immaculate for a while, and I saw how Aaron Coleman worked obsessively. Not even that healthy, you know what I mean? But obsessively, and he threw everything into tattooing. And he would always say, "Just put your head down and grind. They'll come to you. They'll want to get to know you." And that he helped put that mindset in me. And from there on, I was like, "Yeah, fuck everything else. This is it right here. Me, my drawing pad, my tracing paper, my tattoo machines, and what I can control, and my mindset. Like that's it." And so from then on, I feel like Immaculate is where I became a real professional tattooer.
Yeah, I think there's a time where that you can decide that you may have been tattooing for 20 years already, and you may say you're great, like you
Yeah,
said.
I was tattooing for well over a decade at that
Mhm.
point, but it was like there's okay, this is how it's done. This is real tattooing. I worked with some good tattooers, but I'd never been in a place where tattoo culture was so strong,
Mhm.
you know?
And there are other people that you consider to have been big influences on you? Or
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, Coleman was a huge influence on me back then. My friend Luis Campos, uh, he's on Instagram. He's like a simple bird, amazing dude. We met back when I was working at Immaculate. He worked at Immaculate for a little bit actually. And I think he's in Asheville, North Carolina now. we would just have these conversations, and he really opened my eyes to the concepts of art and how to look at things and to look at good things. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you're looking at shitty stuff and you're practicing off of shitty reference and pulling shit off of Google or Pinterest or whatever else, I feel like Lewis really pointed me in this direction of these are the guys that you should be looking at. And it changed my career for sure.
So if you were to be a mentor to someone else, what would you say to them at this point?
As far as what?
All of it.
All of it? I mean, that's a
Well,
it's a
whatever
big,
portion
big
of it.
question.
It's a big rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, I try to get them a jump start, basically. I just teach them everything that, and I'm open. I'm free, whether you work here or not. Like, I'm happy to give you whatever information I can do to help because I want to be part of that. I, I selfishly want to be part of that growth process. But yeah, I'll show them, look, this is not good. This is good. You won't understand this yet, but I think, in a couple of years, you'll look back at what you were telling me was good and you'll be like, I see now, and try to get them a head start on that.
Yeah.
And then the work ethic thing. And the only thing that I can do with is be an example. I really just try to show them that hard work and, a love for what you do is going to get you places.
There's an Italian tattooer whose name I have sadly forgotten, but who says that, you should critique other people to them in front of their face, tear it apart, let them know what you think.
Yeah, I do that. I used to be a sucks draw it again. It's not, I don't think, especially younger tattooers there. I was okay with that because I was just, everyone's an asshole. I'll be an asshole too. But I do that a lot. This could be better. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And I try to ask them, I try to get them to sort of see it themselves. What are you unhappy with? And if they're like, well, I'm actually pretty happy with all of it. I'm like, oh,
So here we go.
well, but yeah, I think critiquing other people's stuff, and I think with the intention of helping people trust that.
Constructive and not just so
Yeah.
you can feel better about yourself or whatever.
Yeah. And this isn't me. This isn't me just trying to break you down because I want to see you sad.
Right. I mean, I just think there's a lot of feeling in the modern world with the younger generation that you shouldn't be critical of them, of their work or anything like that because it's not cool.
Yeah. Or it's just they're so used to being comforted and coddled with everything. They got their trauma, they got their whatever, you name it. Like there's some kind of reason why you can't be mean to them ever, or they can't feel any discomfort. It's just not how the world works. It's certainly not how tattooing works, and it's not how my shop works. But it's all about the intention, where your heart's at. My heart is, and that these guys all know that if I'm trying to help them.
Well, I saw that when I first came in, you were basically helping one of the guys here to design a little differently so it would look more better.
Yeah. I mean, just improve it a little bit and be like, this is how I think. I try not to tell them this is how you should do it. This is just how I think when I do it.
Yeah, and that's what impressed me was you weren't being do it like this. You were, what about this? Which is a whole completely different approach. So it's
Yeah. Well, it took a while to get that too. I definitely pissed some people off with harsh criticism.
well, we all used to be such assholes because it demanded it. Tattooing demanded it.
I thought that was what we were supposed to be.
Well, yeah. I wonder why we call ourselves pirates sometimes.
I don't know. We're just a bunch of nerds.
Right?
We're really a bunch of nerds just sitting here scribbling on people's skin, making more money than we should doing it. And yeah, I mean, I think the outlaw culture back in the day played a big part of that. The biker culture, the cholo, prison culture, whatever else, it was definitely a rougher, tougher scene. But these days, man, it's just a bunch of dorks hanging out in the shop together.
I think it's been an interesting ride. I mean, from the time I started, which is around the same time as you, like, in essence, it was so different back then. But not to complain about, oh, I miss it or anything, but it was just a completely different time. And it has evolved into what we have now. But I feel like there's a lot missing in the essence of real characters, people that are
the big personalities are starting to they're still out there. There's some big personalities, but it's not the same. It's not the Roy Boys or the Guilties or it's just not like that anymore. And if you're running a shop too, younger tattooers they're not going to put up with it.
No, I suppose the reason I have no desire to open another shop is because I don't want to have employees of any kind, even if they're just renting booths or whatever. I don't understand their scene right now.
I don't either. But I like being in a shop environment. I've thought about going into a private studio too, but I like that. I like this. I can help you. I'll see people do things that inspire. The guys here inspire me all the time. Wow, that's sick. Watching that growth, man, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite things.
I think we can learn something off of anybody, even a straight beginner. You can learn something from if you
Yeah.
choose to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you miss about the good old days, as we call them in the 90s, the golden days? Anything?
I don't know. I love it now. Honestly, I don't look back and wish that things were like, do I like wish we could settle our differences with fist fights? You know what I mean? Do I wish there was drugs rampant and people were cutthroat? I don't miss that.
No, I'm glad the hardcore edge is gone for sure.
Yeah.
But I do miss the characters.
But
I miss that.
I do miss some of the characters, and I do miss. I'm glad I was part of that scary era of tattooing. I'm really glad I was. I don't want to go back to it, but I think walking into a tattoo shop and being insulted is like hilarious. They're good memories. This guy, man, that guy's such a dick. Wow.
Yeah.
What a cool memory. You know, he was a tattooer. He's a fucking biker. He's a dickhead, whatever.
Yeah, it was sort of mildly scary going into a tattoo shop
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
You didn't quite know what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't miss those days particularly, but they definitely were character building. Let's just say.
It builds character.
Yeah. So of all of them, who do you miss? Like, the person who would you like to be able to have 10 minutes with again?
As far as like I'd like to hang out with Roy Boy a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
If I had to have my dream blunt rotation,
You're right.
you know, like yeah, like Roy Boy or I don't know, you know, Burt Graham. Just hang out. It would be cool to be able to sit and listen to the stories.
Just watch them work and feel that vibe. Tobacco smoke and solder plugs, as you
Yeah.
said.
I would say, you know, Japanese tattooers, but I wouldn't understand anything. So, like, but yeah, you got to sit down and talk to somebody like that for a little bit. It would be cool.
Totally. So is there anything you'd like to get off your chest in general?
No, I mean, I feel like I covered what I don't know, good conversation.
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
Sometimes I feel like people just have the need to say something about anything.
yeah. I mean, I think
Right.
I said what I had to say really as far as the way I think is the way I think. And if people take something from that and it resonates, cool. If it doesn't, you'll find something, you know. All I can tell you is tattooing is amazing. And it's so corny, it's so cheesy to be, oh, I just thought about it so much, you know, but it's been so good to me throughout these years. It's fed my family. It's kept me going. It's kept me motivated. It kept me employed in periods of my life where I was totally unemployable, you know, um and to have something that I've been doing for 30 years that I still am like excited to do. Yeah. Like I love it. And I hope everybody gets to that point. I hope everybody gets there. And if that's the way you feel about this industry and this culture, then appreciating the culture too, not like, oh, I'm going to just, you know, I'm not part of that. Whatever, do your thing. I'm not saying you can't do it, but in the tattoo culture, love it, appreciate it, understand that there's some of the coolest people in this industry. Yeah. And it'll treat you well if you respect it.
Well, I totally agree with that. I find it very inspiring, actually. I'm enjoying doing this podcast series that I'm doing with people because everybody kind of inspires me to a different way. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool.
Talking to you, just different aspects. Like you said, take what you can and whatever
Yeah.
you can't use, oh well. And Philip Blue said that to me 35 years ago, you know, and he
Yeah.
was right then and you were right now. It really is. If you can't take a little something when someone's trying to show you something or talk to you about things in general, you know, tattooing, then you probably shouldn't be tattooing, I don't think.
Well, yeah, probably not. I always say look for the similarities, not the differences,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah, and that goes a long way. I can be like, oh, yeah, I can look at you and think of a million reasons why I shouldn't listen to you and I shouldn't like, you know, whatever, because you're different or this or that. But there's always gonna if you're just looking for those things where it's, oh, here's the common ground or here's something that resonates with me. Yeah, you're always collecting that.
I agree completely. Is there anyone you would like to see me interview?
Yeah, Pullman would be a good one. If you can get Mike Roper,
Track him down.
you can track Mike Roper down, but there's like a tree in a magic forest somewhere that you gotta reach into a hole in the tree, and then there's a horn you gotta blow into. You can navigate that. But I would love to see a sit down with Mike Roper. That dude's got so much. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.